Welcome to Phil's Tracks, your home for fresh takes on classic tracks, classic takes on fresh tracks, and joining us, making his second appearance, it's Brent Kirby. Welcome back, Brent.
Hey, thanks. Happy to be here.
Well, your first appearance was episode number 69. Hard to
Mhm.
believe, Brent. That was just short of 100 episodes ago.
Wow, you've been busy.
I've done a few of these, but I wanted to make sure I started off with this. You were the very first artist to provide me with support as a podcaster and to promote Phil's tracks to others. So, first off, thanks for that. And second, I want to congratulate you because out of 160 some episodes to date, yours is the fourth most streamed.
That's cool.
And obviously, I hope that this one exceeds the activity we had on that one. Here's what's ahead in this episode of Phil's Tracks. Our main track, we're going to talk about Brent's newest album called On and On and On. In the sidetrack segment, a Brent initiative called the 10 by 3 Songwriter Showcase. In the inside track, Insights from Somebody with the Inside Scoop, we're going to talk about the Northeast Ohio music scene. And for the up track that we close out, we got a great one. It's right off of Brent's newest album. It's called I Am Soul. Let's get right into our main track. 2025 release, On and On and On, 10 tracks, no title track. So I'm curious, how did you settle on the title for the album?
Well, in the song Love We Give, which is a song I wrote with my friend Lori Michelle Kaner from Hey Mavis, and we had written that years ago, probably 10 plus years ago. In that song, we were talking about death, and we were talking about what happens when people die and how we remember them. And that's the love that we give. We remember people by the way they make us feel. That's how we remember them, and that's how they're imprinted on us. The on and on and on is part of that song. The love we give goes on and on and on. And so when I was looking for something that kind of tied up the general premise of this record, which was, this is a record of reflection and grief and loss, but at the same time, redemption and just a, rebirth of sorts too, in the whole process of our human experience. The words on and on and on seemed to fit. It also had the power of three, which was the Three Sisters song that is also on the record. And so it kind of just all clicked for me when I wrote down different titles. That was the one that stuck out.
Well, I gotta leverage off of what you just shared. As you know, Holly and I had a chance to get to the second of your two album release performances at that great venue in Akron called the Rialto Theater.
Wonderful venue.
I'm guessing either by myself or with Holly, we've been to at least 10 of your performances.
I love that. Thank you.
This one was different, and it would be easy to say it was because, unlike the other times, you were accompanied by a group of kick-butt musicians.
Yes,
Absolutely. But it was more than that. We both noticed, it wasn't just me, it was both of us, that throughout the night, your vocals and facial expressions emitted a controlled but yet visible emotion we hadn't seen before. Was that because of the kind of the theme of these songs that, like you talked about, redemption, loss, and reflection? I have to ask.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of it. I recorded this record in early 2023 with Don Dixon and then held on to it. And I think a big reason I held on to it and didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't want to let it go yet, was the fact I think I was still working through the grief of my mom passing and what all these songs meant to me. And I think that was, the releases were a graduation of that effort, but at the same time, kind of a letting go, and also just kind of just trying really, really hard to be in the moment and to realize that, it was happening and that I was sharing these songs publicly and that it had taken me a while to get there.
And this entire album is available on vinyl. Check out BrentKirby.com. Available on the streaming services. If you go to the streaming services, make sure you follow, subscribe, like, comment. everything you do, every touch you make there helps to support Brent. Make sure that you do that. Let's talk about some of these tracks. I'll just mention the names in different groups, and then Brent, just comment at will.
Sure.
Water Do the Work, If Only I Could Have Been Closer.
Water Do the Work was a song I wrote a long time ago when I joined the band Hey Mavis, and I wanted a song to present to them. So I presented it to them. We put it on a record called Honeyman, and it was I think it was a successful song because it fit that band really well. When I left that band, I wanted to continue playing it, but I came up with a different version, which is the version that I recorded with Don Dixon, and that is heard on the record.
Let the water do the work. Let the water do the work. Release, find your peace. Let the water do the work.
That song is a mantra for me as well. It came from an experience of being home from college and working at a German bakery. The baker, I was scrubbing pans, and he came up and said, "Hey, you're working way too hard at this. All you got to do is fill up the sink, let the water do the work, and come back, and everything will come off easy." And I always remembered that. And then also, it's just, water seems to be something that, is within us. It's a big part of our biological makeup, and we're moved by the moon, and the water's moved by the moon, and I feel like water's a bigger part of our life than uh, sometimes what we think about. And so the idea of water do the work, kind of just going with the flow, not letting things hang you up, kind of floating past, because water will just go around obstacles very easily, and it'll cut through canyons, and it'll seep through cracks, and just always find a way.
Well, your background on that sets up that song perfectly. And
Thank
then,
you.
and If Only I Could Have Been Closer. What's the background on that one?
I think it's a song of, and there's probably specific people in my life that I'm thinking about, but not one specific person necessarily in that song, but just the general premise of, people, we make connections with people, and an old friend from college or high school or work or something, and we had a great friendship, and then we kind of lose track of each other, we don't keep in touch, and that's a song to kind of help remind me to do that.
I have walked till I was broken, pulled till I was torn, practiced self-forgiveness, a few times been reborn, ashamed but unshaken, I wear like a tattoo, found that could have been closer to you.
You're listening to Phil's Tracks. We're in conversation with Brent Kirby, talking about his just released album, On and On and On. Two more tracks, Don't Know What I Do and Moonrise. I know these are both personal to you.
They are. Don't Know What I Do was a song that I wrote for a friend of mine, had his wife pass suddenly, and I just sat in the parking lot after the memorial and just thought about my wife and what I would do if she wasn't here. And so that's that song. I still have the notes on my phone. I wrote it right there in the parking lot and just kind of came out.
Don't know what I'd do if I ever lost you. Don't know what I'd do if I ever lost you.
Moonrise is a song I wrote for my sister-in-law Shisha on the day of her memorial. What's special about that song too is my wife Jenna, Shisha's sister, sang on that song as well, and I feel proud of that song because I feel like I captured a feeling that was in the moment. I think that the way it came out was perfectly expressed with Don's production on that. The way that he approached that, and the way that the sounds and the way that he arranged that song really just amplified that emotion.
That's how we'll choose to remember you best. When everything feels dark, we look for the moon. Rise, moon, rise.
I think there were two kind of iconic moments to Rialto. One was on that song. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Jenna came up on stage for that song, didn't she, with Moonrise?
She sang on that. Yep, at both release parties, she did. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one iconic moment. I'll save the second one toward the end.
Okay.
It is now inside the track segment time. We're going to go off into a little bit of a different direction. It's where we broach a topic from an insider. And when it comes to the music scene here in Cleveland and in Northeast Ohio, Brent is indeed an insider, including his involvement with an organization dedicated to the development and promotion of the music industry in this area. Cleveland rocks past, present, and future. I use the words music industry, and I admit, I don't tend to think of music as an industry. And that lends to me seriously underestimating the economic impact in this area. Brent, could you speak to that?
I sure can. I mean, it definitely is an industry. In 2010, there was the Remix Report, which was done by Cleveland State and another nonprofit organization at that point that works with small businesses and looks at the health of Cleveland businesses. CPAC is what they were called. I forget what the acronym stands for. They've now changed their name, but they raised a bunch of money, and this was in 2010. So we had an apples to apples comparison with Austin, Texas, at the same time. And at that point, it was $789 million was in Cuyahoga County alone, produced by music-related activities. So music therapy, musical instrument stores, producers, engineers, Cleveland Orchestra, people who give lessons, um, performers, producers, all of those music-related activities came up to 789 million in 2010. Apples to apples, Austin, Texas was at 1.1 billion. Now, obviously, those are big numbers, but I don't see that there's a huge difference between those two outside of the thought and investment that goes into creating an industry, which I feel that Austin has done a great job as. They have a music commission. They value their music as a society in that city and use it as a tourist incentive to come to Austin, Texas and listen to some music. We have great musicians and we have a lot of great music venues, and I think we have more people per capita than Austin as well. We did another study last year. We were able to do a study, and I say we, it's the Cleveland Rocks and Chris Ronayne, who's the county commissioner here, and the National Independent Venues Association were able to work together. A couple other people, of course, involved with this, and we were able to get some more data based upon, the post-COVID kind of part of that. And what we really came up with was that there needs to be a music commission of some kind. We need a centralized entity that works with the city government and works with other organizations to direct funds to where they need to be, where the weaknesses are, and then amplify the strengths. And put the value to music and change that value perspective in the same way that Cleveland approaches sports. If we had 1% of the $600 million that the Browns got for their new stadium from the state, it would be transformative to our music scene because the music scene happens 365 days a year. The study showed that we have more performances per year than Austin, Texas. So we have more musical performances. And I know for a fact that they didn't even scrape some of the places that I know that other music is being performed at. So I do feel like we have a great opportunity to really amplify the Cleveland music scene and make it so that people want to come and to move to Cleveland, creating that industry, creating all sorts of things that surround that industry and record labels and talent buyers and all of those type of things, because we do have a low cost of living in Cleveland versus the other music centers in the US. And so I feel that's our strength. And we all feel that are involved in this initiative that we really need to keep pushing that towards fruition with the Music Commission and a lot of the other things that are happening.
And I think it's important to point out, Brent, you're not from this area. You're from what I
No,
think originally Wisconsin. Do I recall
that's
that
true.
right? And then you went to
I've been,
college or something in Nashville?
I
Okay,
didn't go to
so
college in Nashville, but just was a songwriter down there, but, moved around a bunch, but moved here in 2001. But I'm
yeah.
definitely as Cleveland as anybody now. This is where my roots are and where I want, to, you know, water the plants that I've and the seeds that I've tried to grow.
Well, this organization, Cleveland Rocks Past, Present, and Future, my research indicates that it's an incubator and provides an incubator and a mentorship, excuse me, workshops and showcases and live music events. Do I have that right?
It is. So they do a lot of different things. The incubator program, we give out $2,000 loans at a 1% interest rate, which is $20. The musician has to pay it back within 12 months, and we surround them with the hive mind of our music scene, attorneys, music attorneys, or graphic designers, or booking agents, or whatever we need to, whatever their project is that they want to do. We give them the money, and then we help them through the finish line on that project, and then track the progress. And then they pay it back, and we use that money for someone else who wants to do something like that. And that's just one aspect of the Cleveland Rocks Past, Present, and Future. We also have an accelerator program, which is a higher level incubator in a sense where private funds and grant funds can be used to champion a particular band. Say they're going out on the road or they're trying to break through to a next level of sorts. We can help them do that with those type of resources. Cleveland Rocks Past, Present, and Future also documents musical activity, where it be concerts or current discussions about the music scene, music things that need to be done, performing rights organizations. They have clinics. They have all sorts of panel discussions and talks just to try to educate our musicians in the music scene about all the different aspects of things that, maybe they're not savvy to, or maybe they just haven't had the opportunity to talk to somebody about. And so the other thing that they do is during COVID, they offered, no payback grants to musicians and helped us float through that particular time too. They put on free concerts, make sure the musicians get paid. They document everything, they film everything, and so it's really a great organization, and what's needed, and it's really kind of helped kickstart a lot of these processes and studies and initiatives that we're working on all together.
In order to do that, they need money, and as I understand it, there's a benefit coming up. Is that correct?
There is October 18th at the tree lawn. There's going to be a benefit for that, and that is you can buy a ticket. There'll be a silent auction where they'll be auctioning off merchandise and all sorts of gift baskets and things and performances from a lot of the people who are either involved in the incubator or I offer performances, private house concerts and things like that that people can bid on. And the whole idea is to just raise as much money as we can to support the music scene. I'll actually be the MC host of that event too. So extra bonus, you get to come and watch me, talk mindlessly on stage about
Mindless,
these things. So I'm practicing on you right now. So,
of the performances I've seen you at, I wouldn't include mindlessly in any of your in any of your presentation. Well,
very
thanks for sharing all that information. That's indeed
well.
some good
Thanks for
inside
asking.
information. 3 more tracks, Everywhere You Go,
Mm.
3 Sisters, and After All These Years.
Yeah, Everywhere You Go is a song I wrote for my wife. I played it at our wedding. It's just a song of being present, and it's a love song. It really is. It is that, and it's an appreciation of friends and family.
And this time it goes so fast. We want to make it last. And know my heart will be with yours everywhere you go.
Three Sisters is a song I wrote on the day that my mother passed, and she was one of 3 sisters, and then my daughter, or my sister, has 3 daughters as well. So that's a running theme in our family, and so that song's really super special to me. And if you look at the cover of the record of On and On and On, there's a great art piece by Jenna Fournier, who goes by Kid Tiger, and I had worked with her in the incubator one-on-one, and saw that piece and just thought it really summed up everything that was on the record for me, and so, she was really kind and, did the artwork for the record and also was kind enough to let me use that for the major artwork, for the cover. So, The Three Sisters is a song, that's the single off the record. It's the one that I let everyone hear first and asked everybody who had three sisters to send in pictures, and then I had a friend of mine, Mike Pello, put together a compilation of all those pictures along with the song for an accompanying video that you can find on YouTube, and I think my favorite part about the video is I'm not in it anywhere. It's all just pictures of the three sisters, including, the ones in my family and many others too. It's I think a great representation of that song.
There ain't nothing gonna keep us apart. We've known each other from the start. Share our room, share our clothes, got secrets that nobody knows. Three sisters, three sisters.
After all these years, it was a song I wrote for my grandfather. On my mom's side, we called him Grampy, and he used to. I have memories of him. He died when I was somewhat young, but I do have memories of him sitting in his chair, smoking a pipe, looking at all the pictures that were on the shelves in front of him. He called it the Rogues Gallery, and he would just sit there, smoke his pipe, and look at all those pictures of family. So I thought about him. I never met my grandmother. She passed before I was born, and so I thought about him and how he kind of lived his life after that. And so that song is about him and his daily walks that he would take. Just kind of me putting my perspective on that, whatever that, I'm sure there's some fictional part of that song, and I kind of made things up in my head, but it was all off the impression of what I knew of him.
Books on the shelf, pictures on the wall. I set my chair so I could see them all. I can still feel her near after all these years.
In a sidetrack segment, tying a regular segment here on Phil's Tracks, subject related to our main track. Our main track, of course, is the latest album by a singer-songwriter, that helps aspiring singer-songwriters, including something called the 10 by 3 Songwriter Showcase. Brent, I know this is something near and dear to your heart. Tell us about this.
The 10 by 3 is a concept I kind of came up with. I say kind of because it was originated when I lived in Nashville. Daniel Tashian, who's an incredible producer and songwriter and musician, hosted a thing called 12 on 12th. And it was 12th and Porter, which is a major music venue in Nashville. And every Monday night, he would have 12 people play 2 songs each. And you'd have to call him ahead of time, and he'd let you know what time you were going to play. And so that kind of concept I took over to the 10 by 3 when I got asked by Brothers Lounge to do a open mic. I just didn't want to do a regular open mic. I felt like I wanted a bit more controlled and a bit more focused, and I wanted a showcase instead of just an open mic where people show up and they sign up and they don't know what time they're going to be on, so they don't know when to tell their family and friends to be there, and then they would just play cover songs or something. I wanted something that was focused on original music, and so I created the 10 by 3, and that was in 2010. We had it at Brothers all the way up to COVID. Every week. So every Wednesday, I booked 10 different people to play the 10 by 3. So thousands of musicians, songwriters came through. And then COVID kind of, wrecked that. It stopped it in its tracks. And then when Brothers reopened, they had changed the wine bar, which is where the 10 by 3 was presented, in a way that I didn't feel like it could be properly presented in the same fashion. And so then I kind of looked to some other places and landed on the Bop Stop, which is a premier jazz venue that we have here in Cleveland. A beautiful sight lines and no TVs, which was important to me. I had them turn off the TVs at Brothers in the wine bar, and I would shush people. And it was a little bit of a challenge, but the Bop Stop was already kind of set up for that. It was a listening room, no TVs, had a full PA system, Steinway Grand, a full back line. They digitally record everything, and they digitally, they stream all the shows. And so a songwriter can go back and see their performance or or extract their video or audio from the performance and use it for promotional purposes. And it was more centrally located downtown. And so I'm really proud of the fact that it's lasted this long. I was ready to end it at COVID, but then we just got this resurgence by doing it at the Bop Stop, and it's really I go away from it every Wednesday, and it's usually the beginning of my work week. I usually work, Wednesday through Sunday. It's just really inspiring to be around songwriters and people who are doing their own thing, their true voice. You can hear the way that they sing or the way that they write or the way that they have their lyrics. There's always something to be learned. I'm constantly learning from the worst performers and the best performers, and it's just a really inspiring place to be around. And I feel like there's a great community and communities that have formed through it over the years, and then also it's still living and breathing. And so I'm still seeing new connections of people that are going out and doing things, and I know for a fact that I introduced them at the 10 by 3, and so I feel like for a scene, those kind of seeds, that kind of crop that is constantly being tended to is an important thing for me.
They say plagiarism is the purest form of flattery.
I'm sure.
I attended one of the showcases there at the Bop Stop, and I'm using a similar format at the Jinx on October the 4th, a contemporary artist showcase. And we tentatively have 6 different contemporary artists, including one that was there the night I was at the Bop Stop, Prince Tucker.
Oh, sure.
And in fact, I told Prince that he played a song that night called Chicago that I'd never heard before. And I must have listened to that song 20 times after he introduced me to it. But it's my way, Brent, of Phil's Tracks helping to support contemporary artists in conjunction with those great people down at the Jinx. And that's October the 4th. And I'm very much looking forward to doing that.
I love the Jinx.
That's our sidetrack segment for this episode. Let's get into the final 2 tracks. But before we do that, you mentioned Don Dixon. He was involved with this album. Can you tell us a little bit about Don and his involvement with the album? And then you've also got a new project you two are working on.
Sure. So I've known Don for years. I also play drums in a band called the Ohio City Singers, which is an all original Cleveland Christmas band. And we put out 5 different records at this point. And it's all just original Christmas stuff. And Don produces the records. So I worked with him with that band and play with him in that band. He performs in that band with us. And then also with Hey Mavis, recorded a Honeyman with him, where he came to my house and set up his stuff. And we recorded that record. And so Don has been kind of a sage, wise resource for me, a Yoda in that sense. And so I've always gone to him for things. For this particular record, On and On and On, I was going out to Riverdog, which is out in Oberlin area. And they have all different sorts of acts all summer. Terry and Deborah out there, they're artists, so they're very artist friendly and create these wonderful shows for national touring musicians even. And so, but they've been really kind to me. And they have an old farmhouse, and gave me a bunch of time at the farmhouse, and I was able to go in. And I was going in 2 days before, and I was like, I was just going to record some acoustic songs and document them. And at the last minute, I called Don, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing, and it'd be better if I didn't have to twist knobs or press buttons. And so Don agreed to come out and had the time off, which is, was amazing to me because he's such a busy person with all his producing and playing. And so we huddled up there for 4 days and recorded this record. And it was just me and Don. We'd wake up in the morning and we'd work a song top to bottom and work the next song, and till we got tired and went to bed and waked up and did it again. And Don's really a great, I second guess myself quite a bit, especially while recording and with songs. And he's a good referee for me anyway, that type of thing where he's made me feel like it's okay to do this or that or whatever it is, and kind of let go of that controlling thing that I know that I have a tendency to do on my own music sometimes, especially when recording. So it's been really helpful for me. It's been a growing process, and he really just is great. So I recently, we went in and I had another 11 songs, and so we tracked them as well. And so We have basic tracks for all those songs, and we're going to have another session where we invite a bunch of other musicians, similar to what I did with On and On and On, and fill out the rest of those, and then release that record. Hopefully by the end of the year. But man, time is going so quickly. It's hard to wrap my head around those things. But I have been writing a bunch and just keep writing, and I feel pretty good about all of it. I'm sure it'll get completed sooner than later, and I really just want to try to put out as much as I can, and kind of clear my plate because I feel like I've been building up songs and just been hanging on to them and doing nothing with them. And I think as a songwriter, as an artist, a creative person, you create pieces and you kind of have to let them go. And it's a liberation of the songs. It's a putting the kids out there in the real world to see what they do. And you never know how those songs are going to connect with other people. And it does feel a lot like their children, and you coddle them till you have to let them go, and then they can do their own thing, and you can let go of them yourself.
Well, two that you have let go are the two final tracks on this album, "Love We Give" and "Sun Shining Off the Sea" slash Jenna's Waltz.
Love We Give was a song I wrote with Lori Kaner as well from Hey Mavis, and I think I had alluded to it earlier, just that it's a song about the impression that we give people, and that's what they remember us by. And her and I actually, on a side note, have written another 10 songs that we're going to be recording with Don Dixon. Producing. Don's a good friend of both of us, so it was the most natural thing for us to do, but we have 10 more songs that we wrote. Her and I, Lori and I, have been really successful in the co-writing, and so we have that going. "Sun Shining Off the Sea" is a song I wrote for my mom about New England, where she's from, New Hampshire. Every summer we'd go back to New Hampshire, and we'd go to Janus Beach, which is a place in New Hampshire, and that was our favorite beach. It's a beach she grew up on, and the beach that I kind of grew up on. And so we spread her ashes there, and so that song is about her.
You like the sun shining off the sea. You like the sun shining off the sea.
And Janus Waltz is a song that I wrote on the piano and just recorded it and sent it to Don. I'm like, this is how we need to end the record, tack it on to the end and keep the beach sounds going, the environmental beach sounds going, and put this at the end.
I mentioned earlier that there were two iconic moments from our viewpoint when we saw the performance. The second one was that outro, that keyboard outro,
Yes.
and just watching you on stage as you took in that, that closing part of that song. It was just an iconic moment, and it's a great way to end the album, by the way. Just a
Thank you.
perfect ending. So we wanted to make sure that we shared that with you. You've talked an awful lot about, you've got a project with Don, you got a project with Lori, but you also talked about, or let me know, something about new soft shoe. You also got something going on with that as well?
Sure, yeah, really exciting actually. So the new soft shoe's been around since 2010 as well, and it's a Graham Parsons cover band is what it is. So we're not a tribute band per se. We don't try to dress like them. We don't try to do the songs like them. We just kind of learn the songs and do our own versions. And so over the years, we've kind of accumulated some different versions of songs that are kind of unique to the band, and that whole Graham Parsons community is like a whole subculture, and really amazing to be a part of that and to have connected with those people. But we've never really thought about recording anything until a friend of mine, Jim Ellis, who kept He's at the every 10 by 3 at the pop stop, and he restarted a record label called CLE Records and based out of Cleveland, and gave us the opportunity to go into Suma Recording, which is in Painesville, a wonderful recording studio, and we recorded 8 songs and tracked those and finished them, and we're getting the artwork done, and we're going to put out a vinyl record probably in October, maybe late September. We're going to kind of try to figure that out, but it'll be out this year, and 8 songs that are Graham Parsons songs, but our own versions of those songs. And they sound wonderful, and the performances are great, and everyone in the band is singing a song. And it's just really, I think our fans and supporters will really appreciate it. It's a great listen. I get excited every time I put my ears on it.
Well, we have plenty of reasons to be excited. And I'm going to tell you, I'm excited about the album we just talked about, this On and On and On. In an age of playlists that are filled with single songs by a variety of artists, it was great for me just to reconnect and listen to an album all the way through.
I'm an
Yeah.
album guy. Like, that's how I think of music, and that's probably because of my age and experience. I feel, this album had a concept, and that was really, it was an album that wasn't supposed to necessarily happen, but I was working on another record of a whole different collection of songs. And while putting those songs and kind of grouping them, I realized I had this collection of songs that had this theme of what On and On is. And that was then just quickly recorded it with Don. And next thing you know, I had a record in my hands, and hadn't the month before, I hadn't even planned on it. And so, I am an album guy. I want to hear a concept. I want to hear a thing. I want to grow with an artist, and I want to see the growth. And it's not, you can get a glimpse of it with one song, but, I remember dropping a needle on a record and then flipping it over and listening to the whole thing and then doing it over and over and over and over again. And that's my favorite listening experience. And so that's kind of what I want to present.
Fortunately for you, according to the demographics I get on Phil's Tracks listeners from Spotify, 80% are over the age of 60. That's the perfect vinyl group, isn't it? So
Well, they got expendable income, and they might have a turntable. So
either way, I just want to congratulate you on the entire album. It's great, start through finish. Brent, are there any other comments that you have, and how do Phil's Tracks listeners follow you?
Well, my website is usually the best way. Social media is kind of hit or miss sometimes because of algorithms and things like that. There are people who come to, I didn't even know you were playing. Well, it's on my website, but I did post, but people didn't, just because it's the algorithm will not let us see everything all the time. I would say go to my website, BrentKirby.com. That's the best place. And that has, there's actually a specific page for this record, On and On and On. And it has all the different things and merchandise that you can get. We have vinyl, we have CDs, you can do digital downloads. I got hats, I got shirts, live performances. I'll meet you for a hike and coffee. There's different things that people can experiences that people can purchase there as well. So that's the best place. And then it has links to all my social media as well. So you can go there and go out.
By the way, the shirts that he has for On and On and On are among the most comfortable T-shirts you're ever going to find. Holly and I both purchased one at your event and absolutely love it. Hey, Phil's Tracks.
I handpicked the actual T-shirt because I wanted to make sure that it was super comfy. I'm like, I want this T-shirt, and I had my guy go out and find them, and so he did.
Well, yeah, I've only printed maybe 500,000 T-shirts in my day, so I'm a little bit familiar with that, and that's indeed an excellent T-shirt selection. Hey, listeners, stick around. We still have this episode's up track. Make sure you follow Brent, purchase some merch, see him live. Regardless of what streaming service you check him out, subscribe, like, comment. Again, every one of these actions helps support Brent. Find additional docudiscographies. That's a new phrase I just came up with yesterday, Brent. On Phil's Tracks, I put those on Spotify. I typically cover a wide variety of different topics, including one with Frank Warninger. We talked about musicians' hearing loss. It was a really insightful episode, and I have many episodes with classic artists like Mark Farner from Grand Funk and many contemporary artists, including those from my favorite venue, the Jinx in Cuyahoga Falls. I'm going to include a link. I've got a tab on philyell.com with all of the episodes with all of the artists that I've seen perform at the Jinx, including, yes, Brent Kirby. And for you baby boomers, I have a 60s, 70s pop music channel on YouTube, including a trivia show with my good buddy Trip Rogers. That's called Trippin' Up. Okay, it's time for our up track, Brent. A track that puts a little lift to our day, a little swing in our sway, a little pep in our step, and I'm taking one right off your album. It absolutely qualifies. And that's how we're going to close out this episode of Phil's Tracks. It's your song, I Am Soul. Brent, thanks again for joining us on Phil's Tracks.
Thank you so much, Phil.